Welcome into the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Coming up on today's show, we're going to take a look at the Lakers opening night roster. Also, DeMar DeRozan telling Draymond Green he almost signed with the Lakers in free agency. But we kick off today's show with a little bit of breaking news because according to Shams Charania of the Athletic and Stadium, the Lakers have claimed Avery Bradley off waivers. He spent the preseason with the Golden State Warriors, and despite Steph Curry and Draymond Green wanting to keep him, the Warriors did let him go, and the Lakers were like, all right, this guy was with us back a couple years ago during our championship run. Let's bring him back onto the roster. He was a part of that team in 2019-2020 when the Lakers ended up winning the championship in the NBA bubble. Now, Avery Bradley was a COVID opt-out that year, so he didn't technically win a championship with Los Angeles in the bubble, but he was a key playmaker on that team as a very good defensive player that year alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis. You take a look at what Avery Bradley did a couple years ago with Los Angeles in that 2019-2020 season. He did spend a little bit of time with the Miami Heat last year, then was sent to the Houston Rockets at the NBA trade deadline. He was pretty solid for the Lakers a few years ago, 8.5 points per game. He's always been a great defensive player, dating all the way back to when he came into the league with the Boston Celtics. Gave you around a steal per game a couple years ago, 44.5% from the floor. And over time, he has become a more reliable three-point shooter. With the Lakers, he shot north of 36% from the floor. Avery Bradley said earlier in this offseason when he signed with the Golden State Warriors that he believes he's one of the best on-ball defenders across the entire NBA. And it feels as though Bradley has been in the league for a while, and he has, around a decade. But I still think that Avery Bradley, even though he's become a journeyman the last couple of years, can still become and be a very good defender. And that's really what the Lakers are looking at by bringing in Bradley. He can be an on-ball defender, guard a couple of different possessions, stretch the floor a little bit, knock down some threes as well. As I mentioned, he is going to occupy the final roster spot. So the Lakers were going into this knowing there's probably going to be a veteran who's either waived, let go by another organization. Let's leave that final 15th roster spot open so that they could sign a player like Bradley. Still think he can play. I still think he's going to get a few minutes per night depending on the matchup because of what he brings you. He can handle the basketball, maybe even play a little point. He can play off ball as well offensively. He can stretch the floor and knock down some threes as a reliable shooter, but really his calling card is defense. And I really think this is a championship level move by general manager LeBron James as well as Rob Pelinka to bring in a player with a lot of experience who has playoff and championship experience as well, and load up the back end of the roster with yet another experienced player because we know the Lakers have plenty of experience and a lot of older guys on this roster. So your one-word reaction, Laker Nation, to the Lakers signing Avery Bradley. We're reacting to it just moments after Shams Charania sent that tweet out. Get your one-word reactions in the comment section right now. My one-word reaction, very solid. If you want more videos like this and videos on the latest and freshest Lakers news and rumors, subscribe to the channel right now. We're getting closer and closer to 40,000 subscribers as one of the largest Lakers news and rumors channels out there on YouTube. When breaking news happens, we have you covered within minutes, so smash that subscribe button down below and continue to support the channel. Lakers do tip off the season on Tuesday night against the Golden State Warriors. They are dealing with some injuries, as we covered last week right here on the Lakers Report, as we went through that Lakers injury report. And for this game against the Warriors on Tuesday night, Kendrick Nunn going to be questionable. Malik Monk is probable. Wayne Ellington is going to be out. Before we move forward in today's show, why don't we get some predictions from the people, from the homies? Who you got in this season opener? Golden State Warriors or your Lakers? Type GSW for the Dubs, LAL for the Lakers. Be sure to get your votes in. The Lakers do enter this matchup as 3.5-point favorites at home at the Staples Center, but I'm sensing that Golden State is rejuvenated with the incoming news and the incoming addition of Klay Thompson at some point this season. They also were busy in NBA free agency. I am going with the Lakers to be victorious in this matchup. Off the top, I did say that we're going to break down this Lakers opening night roster. It is set and now full with the signing of Avery Bradley. Let's take a look at what this roster looks like in alphabetical order. Carmelo Anthony, Trevor Ariza, Kent Bazemore, Anthony Davis, Wayne Ellington occupying the first 5 spots of this roster. And then as we continue to filter through this, Talen Horton-Tucker out for a little while because of that thumb surgery, Dwight Howard, LeBron James, DeAndre Jordan, as well as Malik Monk, Kendrick Nunn making the final 15-man roster as well. And then one of the better stories, not just with the Lakers, but across the league, has been the emergence of Austin Reeves buying the trust of LeBron James and Rajon Rondo. They've been really high on his ability to knock down some threes, and as a cheap option, really good player for the Lakers to bring in, who is undrafted out of Oklahoma. Rajon Rondo, Russell Westbrook, and Avery Bradley rounding out this roster. And then the two-way deals for Los Angeles, they are going to Sekou Doumbouya, a former first-round pick who has not even lived up to expectations. And then the other two-way roster spot and two-way contract goes to Jay Huff, formerly of the University of Virginia. Career stats with Virginia: 7.5 points per game, 4.5 rebounds, 1.5 blocks. He has been known to be a pretty solid defensive player, and I don't expect him to really contribute on a team that is loaded with a bunch of veterans and very talented ones at that, but he does take up one of those two-way contracts. Grade the Lakers roster going into opening night against the Dubs on a scale of 1 to 100. If you're going to type your 1, you're just doubting this Lakers team and you're a straight-up hater. But 1 being this roster is terrible, it's a joke. 100 being it's truly elite. Get those votes in the comment section right now. And if you want to chop up and talk some Lakers basketball, talk some hoops, talk about life, you can hit me up on Twitter and Instagram at Chase_Senior. Shoot me a follow. My DMs are open. Feel free to slide in there and let's talk. Now to DeMar DeRozan. Now, during NBA free agency, we knew that DeRozan, who's a Compton native, had some interest in going to the Los Angeles Lakers, and that interest was mutual because the Lakers had a bunch of needs to fill with this roster. They ended up not signing DeRozan, partially because he signed a 3-year, $85 million deal with the Bulls. He still has some gas left in the tank, but 3 years, $85 for DeRozan, that's a lot of money. But he did an interview with Draymond Green on Bleacher Report as Draymond continues to do more and more media duties. And he said he almost signed with the Lakers in NBA free agency. Here's what he told Draymond. Yeah, I mean, it was a real possibility. I'd be lying to you if I said, or if I didn't say I wanted to come home, you know. I did try to make it happen. It was a real possibility about it happening, just things didn't work out. You know what I mean? But Chicago was always in my top 5. It was always on my radar. They make the move to get Lonzo. Great pickup, been a fan of his. And you see the narrative change with Zach LaVine wanting to stay in Chicago if I came, and obviously Vucevic is here. So we just built off of that to where it became a real possibility. Now, last year with the San Antonio Spurs, you might be thinking, DeRozan in his early 30s is kind of washed at this point, not the same player that he was with Toronto. That narrative, we can debunk that. It's false. He was very good with San Antonio last year under Greg Popovich, 21.5 points per game. I like his positional versatility because he can control the ball as a point guard or play off of it, average around 7 dimes per night, shot 49.5% from the floor. He's never been a big three-point shooter. He wasn't that last year. He really hasn't added that to his offensive arsenal, but he's a decent defensive player as well. Some room to be desired there, but he'll give you around a steal per night, putting up some digits last year with San Antonio. We'll still see if he's able to do the same in Chicago. So, given that DeRozan had said, I wanted to come back home to the Los Angeles area, it was a real possibility. Are you mad the Lakers did not sign DeMar DeRozan? Your opportunity to sound off. Let me know how you're feeling. Type M for mad, type C for nah, I'm cool. I think you trend towards C, I'm cool, because this Lakers team, I don't really think they need DeMar DeRozan. I'm not sure how he would have fit on this team. It would have been a cool story with him coming back to the City of Angels, but Lakers really don't need him. So get your votes in, and as always, thanks for watching today's show.